Paris Dark Secrets. The enigma of the abandoned Grand Astoria continues further. As Sophie continued her investigation, she couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to Henri Duffert's story than met the eye. Despite the rumors of his disappearance, she remained determined to uncover the truth of his fate. Through painstaking research and interviews with those who had known him, Sophie pieced together the final days of Henri Duffert. It was a tragic tale of redemption and sacrifice that painted a different picture of the man behind the Grand Astoria Hotel. It turned out that Henri had not fled the city in shame, nor had he met a sinister end at the hands of the occultist's dark forces. Instead, he had stayed behind, determined to atone for his mistakes and make amends for the lives that had been lost in the fire. In the months following the tragedy, Henri had dedicated himself to rebuilding the hotel, using what little remained of his fortune to restore it to its former glory. But his efforts were in vain, as the whispers of the hotel's haunted past drove away potential investors and guests alike. Undeterred, Henri had continued to fight, refusing to give up on the hotel or the memories of those who had perished within its walls. But as the years passed and the hotel fell further into disrepair, Henri's health began to decline, his once vibrant spirit fading away with each passing day. In the end, Henri had died alone, his dreams of redemption shattered by the weight of his guilt and the ghosts of his past. But even in death, his legacy lived on, a reminder of the dangers of unchecked ambition and the price of betrayal. As Sophie uncovered the truth of Henri Duffert's fate, she felt a sense of closure wash over her. For she knew that his story was not one of villainy or cowardice, but of redemption and sacrifice. And as she stood in the ruins of the Grand Astoria Hotel, she vowed to ensure that his memory would never be forgotten, a beacon of hope in the darkness that lurked beneath the surface of Parisian society. With the truth of Henri Duffert's fate revealed, Sophie felt a sense of closure wash over her. But her work was far from over. Armed with the knowledge she had gained, she continued her investigation into the dark forces that had threatened the city. With each new lead she pursued, Sophie uncovered more evidence of corruption and deceit, weaving a tangled web that stretched far beyond the confines of the Grand Astoria Hotel. Along the way, she encountered new allies and adversaries, each with their own agenda and hidden motives. But Sophie refused to be deterred. With the help of her allies, she pursued the truth with unwavering determination, even as the dangers that surrounded her grew ever more dire. As Sophie delved deeper into the mystery surrounding the Grand Astoria Hotel and its tragic past, she uncovered the full extent of Henri Duffert's involvement in the conspiracy. It began with Henri's ambitious dreams of building a luxurious hotel that would rival the finest establishments in Paris. With his considerable wealth and influence, Henri spared no expense in bringing his vision to life, pouring his heart and soul into the project. But as construction on the hotel neared completion, whispers of financial troubles began to swirl around Henri. Desperate to salvage his failing business and protect his reputation, he fell prey to the machinations of a powerful occultist who saw an opportunity to exploit his vulnerability. Under the guise of a lucrative business deal, the occultist convinced Henri to carry out a dark ritual within the confines of the Grand Astoria Hotel. Unbeknownst to Henri, the ritual was a nefarious scheme to tap into the dark forces that lay dormant beneath the hotel's surface. On the night of the ritual, as Henri and the occultist performed the incantations, a terrible fire broke out, consuming the hotel in flames and trapping many of the guests inside. In the chaos that ensued, Henri realized the true horror of what he had done, but it was too late to stop the devastation that had been unleashed. Haunted by guilt and remorse, Henri disappeared from the public eye, consumed by the weight of his actions and the knowledge of the lives that had been lost as a result. Some said he fled the city in shame, while others believed he had met a more sinister fate at the hands of the occultist's dark forces. In the end, the truth of Henri Duffert's fate remained shrouded in mystery, a tragic reminder of the dangers of unchecked ambition and the price of betrayal. And as Sophie uncovered the details of his involvement in the conspiracy, she couldn't help but feel a pang of sympathy for the man who had unwittingly become a pawn in a much larger game of darkness and deceit. With the evidence meticulously gathered and the truth finally laid bare, Sophie embarked on the arduous task of bringing the perpetrators of the conspiracy to justice. Drawing on her journalistic skills and the support of her allies, she crafted a comprehensive case that left no room for doubt. First, Sophie meticulously compiled all the documents, testimonies, and physical evidence she had gathered throughout her investigation. Each piece of information was scrutinized and cross-referenced, ensuring that her case was airtight and irrefutable.
Next, Sophie reached out to the authorities, presenting them with her findings and laying out the full extent of the conspiracy that had plagued the Grand Astoria Hotel. With her credibility as a respected journalist and the weight of her evidence behind her, she was able to garner the support of key officials who were determined to see justice served.
As the investigation unfolded, Sophie remained vigilant, providing assistance wherever needed and ensuring that no stone was left unturned. She worked tirelessly to uncover new leads and follow up on any potential leads that arose, never wavering in her pursuit of the truth. Finally, after weeks of intense scrutiny and legal maneuvering, Sophie's efforts paid off. The perpetrators of the conspiracy were brought to trial, their crimes laid bare for all to see. With Sophie's testimony as a key witness, they were swiftly convicted and sentenced to serve time for their roles in the tragedy that had befallen the Grand Astoria Hotel. As she watched the proceedings unfold, Sophie felt a sense of satisfaction wash over her. The weight that had been pressing down on her shoulders for so long was finally lifted, replaced by a feeling of vindication and closure. But even as she celebrated her victory, Sophie knew that her work was far from over. For in a city as complex and multifaceted as Paris, there would always be new mysteries waiting to be uncovered and new injustices waiting to be righted. And as long as there were those who sought to hide the truth, Sophie would be there to bring it to light, no matter the cost. As Sophie stood amidst the rubble of the Grand Astoria Hotel, a sense of both victory and sadness washed over her. The once grand building, now reduced to a haunting shell of its former self, bore witness to the darkness that had permeated Parisian society. With the perpetrators of the conspiracy brought to justice and the truth finally exposed, Sophie felt a weight lift from her shoulders. Yet, she couldn't shake the feeling that her journey was far from over. The shadows that had lurked beneath the surface of Paris were deep and vast, and there were still mysteries waiting to be unraveled. Taking a moment to reflect, Sophie cast her gaze over the ruins, her mind replaying the events that had led her to this moment. From the discovery of the faded photograph in her dusty files to the harrowing confrontation with the occultist, each step of her journey had brought her closer to the truth. But there was still one question that lingered in Sophie's mind. What drove people to such lengths of deception and betrayal? As she pondered this, her thoughts drifted to Henri Duffert, the owner of the Grand Astoria Hotel, and the tragic role he had unwittingly played in the conspiracy. It was a story of redemption and sacrifice, one that had ultimately cost Henri his life. Yet, even in death, his legacy lived on, a reminder of the dangers of unchecked ambition and the price of betrayal. With a renewed sense of purpose, Sophie knew that her work was far from over. There were still others out there who sought to hide the truth, and it was up to her to uncover it. Armed with her determination and the lessons she had learned along the way, she vowed to continue her fight against the darkness that lurked within the city. And as she turned to leave the ruins of the Grand Astoria Hotel behind, Sophie knew that her journey was just beginning. For in a city as old and storied as Paris, there would always be secrets waiting to be uncovered, and there would always be someone like her ready to shine a light into the darkness and bring truth to those who sought it. Thanks for watching.